we have Jessica. Jessica, what's going on? How are you?
I'm excellent, Ray. How are you doing today?
Awesome, awesome. I see you. I see you in the group all the time, so I'm excited to be on here with you. And so, just let me know where are you at? Where are we in your journey?
Well, I've been following you for quite some time, and I really appreciated a lot of your journey, and especially a lot of the breakthroughs that you've been having. I've also been on that journey as well to try to identify some of my blocks and kind of eliminate them. But I'm stuck with the eliminating part. Like just for an example, like I know that I'm overcoming, but scarcity mindset is something that I've struggled with in the past, and still it rears its ugly head every now and again. And I've had money mindset issues as well. But I'm identifying some of those blocks, but I'm just curious as to maybe what the next steps are that I should look to take to not just eliminate them from my life, but then that'll help me move forward in my business and be able to help other people.
Yeah, for sure. Have you identified the causes of them?
I think I have identified, well, for my scarcity mindset, I think some of that, well, I think a lot of it has to do with my childhood. My memory of my childhood with my parents, where my mom didn't work. My dad was the only income earner. And this might be inaccurate. I don't remember, but I recall one time him doing his checkbook in a red pen and a black pen, because he wrote out our bills against the red pen, and there was more red than there was black. So I think that's where it started. My grandmother, she held on to everything. My parents held on to everything. That kind of followed me. Like we always hold on to stuff because we're afraid of losing it. I've done a tremendous job, and I think my husband would back me up on this, of getting rid of a lot more.
When did
So
that start? When did you start doing that?
Probably about, honestly, 2 years ago,
Okay.
really started diving into it. About a year after I found you.
Mm, nice. Um, so yeah, it's interesting. One of my coaches, he has billionaire clients, and he he was telling me, he goes, when people have scarcity mindset, more money doesn't solve it.
Right.
And I'm not saying you can't solve it, right? You can, but it's interesting because you think the cure to scarcity is to get more, but the scarcity remains the same. And so, like, this is, we talk about this in Time, Money, Freedom
Hmm.
of, Jess, when we first met, I'm dead broke, personal foreclosure. She's working at the makeup counter. And we never, although it wasn't great, we never really stressed about money. We actually started, you know, she started stressing about money when we started making a lot of it. And it's because she had seen a close family member make a lot of money and lose it, and that was her like biggest scare. And so that's something she's definitely improved, um, but still struggles with that. And so what one of my coaches was telling me is, like, he goes, yeah, if it's unaddressed, it just doesn't matter. You can be a $1 billion company and still think it could go away tomorrow. and
Hmm.
and so it is something that is a big deal, right? And if you're always operating from fear, then you're gonna that's gonna come with you.
Hmm.
As you may have heard me talk about, our memories, they try to protect us, right?
Right.
Protect us from harm. And so when we can't remember something, it's because the subconscious is actually suppressing that, so we don't remember it, so we stay nice and safe. Now, being happy isn't part of the routine, but being safe and not embracing the things that hurt us is very important. So I'm curious, I mean, do you remember ever wanting to do something and they just said, no, we just can't afford it, as a kid? Do you remember any of that kind of stuff?
I don't remember my parents ever saying that they couldn't afford things necessarily, but I do know that I wanted to do dance, and that wasn't an option. We had to stop doing that. I got to play soccer. I was able to do some of the smaller things that were, looking back, were affordable, but No, when it came to some of the bigger things, my parents, whether it was because of finances or whatever their reasons were, they shut it down. And I've never had that conversation with them to ask them. They're both still alive, and maybe I should, but I don't know that having that conversation would solve anything either moving forward, but maybe it would. I'm not sure.
So what is it that you want? So you feel like before we go there, how does this show up? How does scarcity show up for you? How does you thinking that, because you said scarcity and you said one other thing. What was the other thing you said?
Well, money mindset.
Money mindset. So money mindset and scarcity, how does that show up for you? Like, how do you feel it? How do you experience it?
Well, okay. So, kind of very similar to Jess in a way, except for knowing somebody personally. We personally lost things. We went through a foreclosure. We hit some pretty hard times. We have a son who's special needs, and that we didn't go bankrupt, but it basically bankrupted us. And, we've rebuilt from there. And maybe that's part of it too. Just identifying that, but it shows up where, like in my business, I'll buy samples and I want to give them out and I'll make contacts with people, but then I'm very stingy with giving them out. I've gotten way better at it, but that's a way that it has shown up. I'm overly generous. Wealth Wednesday every single week, at least in my opinion, with what we can afford. Overly generous. Every single Wednesday, I'm out there. I'm always doing a Wealth Wednesday activity during the week. If I go anywhere, sometimes I'll pop $1 or $2 in an egg. I do it in abundance. I think in a way, just because I'm trying to make up for time. The more I put out in the universe, maybe the more I'll get back. But the biggest way that it's shown up recently is I actually was able to leave my job back in September because my husband's got a job that affords us the opportunity to allow me to be a stay-at-home mom now. But he's commission based, and even though he's a rock star and he's amazing at what he's doing, and he's just been consistent with bringing in income, I still have, I think I still have that fear of the potential of losing it again in the back of my mind, and I didn't think about that.
Sure. Yeah. Who manages the finances?
I do most of them, but we kind of split things equally.
Okay.
For the most part, I make sure almost all the bills are paid.
Yeah. That's one change that, Jess and I have made is, my whole life, I've not managed the finances. So even, before Jess,
Mm-hmm.
in my first marriage, she managed the bills, I went and made the money, she managed the bills. And Jess specifically, there's really two things. And it's a little controversial for me to say this, but
we can take it offline. Just kidding.
The management of money is more of, and this is, I learned this from a guy named David Higdon, who wrote, he's written, several books, but the management of money is more of a masculine trait.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Jess, because of, her energy and, what she's had, and what she witnessed and observed in the past, I mean, when she logs in and she sees high bills, I mean, she'll just break down. I mean, there's been times she's cried. There's been times she's, just like now that I'm taking over that, and that's transitioning, which is a great learning thing for me, which I was nervous about, but I don't have any emotions around it, like I just log in, I'm like, all right, what's that expense? Let's figure this out, like let's move this here, like it's just not it's not that big of a deal, even though I haven't done it my whole life. I haven't done it.
Right.
It's just, I don't have an emotional thing about it. And so it's just a lot easier, for me to do that. And I just share that because maybe there's something there.
There's definitely an emotion attached to it for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like, my temperature rising or things changing in my body when I will look at certain bills that are coming out or different things that are happening. And I'm like, I don't know what that expense is. What is that expense?
Yeah. And I'm just like, we'll find out this expense. There's zero emotion. It's just,
Right.
just is what it is. And so, and that is, and I had never heard this before, but after studying some of David's, stuff, it made sense to me. He
Okay.
talks about how the female is like the river and the masculine energy, or I should say feminine energy, right?
Hmm.
Feminine energy is like the river, free flowing, does what it would like to do, splashes on the banks every once in a while, and the masculine energy is more of the banks along the river,
Okay.
right? And
Hmm.
literally banks, like literally, like helping, not so free flowing, more, like more structured maybe.
Right.
And we've noticed a big difference. I mean, like her happiness has increased greatly since we've been making this transition, and so I'm just throwing that out there. Um, it's you know it's something that what might be helpful. So I'll give you two suggestions here. One, and something that I've done, is my whole life I've been like a hoarder, borderline, right? Just a borderline hoarder. Like I don't save like, cereal boxes or something crazy, but like collecting things and and one thing I kind of translated from Joe Dispenza is not that he says this directly, but he talks about all the things in your life you have an energy attachment to,
Hmm.
right? And so I started really looking at and identifying my energy. Where is my energy being spent? And so my energy, I was thinking about things in the storage unit just
Hmm.
every once in a while, not every day, not every minute, like a lunatic, but like, I wonder what else in there. I don't remember what's in there. And so I went there and I wiped the whole effing thing out. Right. I mean, I sold some stuff. I
Hmm.
donated a ton of stuff, like an entire trailer of stuff I donated. And now I don't think about it. Right. So I've actually regained energy in the last, I don't know exactly 6 months. Let's say I've sold over $50,000 in stuff on eBay.
Hmm.
Just I'm not like buying and flipping. I'm just getting rid of stuff.
Right.
I over the years I've collected watches and things like that just to me just don't have any meaning anymore. I just don't care. And so
Hmm.
today I listed all my watches. Like I'm just getting rid of anything that is something going toward my purpose, then that deserves energy. Is something not going toward my purpose, I don't want to give it any energy. I
I
just
love
don't.
that.
And so I mean I can't tell you boxes of books. I mean, probably five of the big moving boxes of books I've gotten rid of, and I've donated them.
Hmm.
They're still good books, but I'm not going to go through them, right? I mean, there's a very small list of books that I kept that I actually will go back through every once in a while because
Hmm.
they're there and they will help me toward my purpose. But all the rest, they're great books, but I'm not going to open them again. Why am I keeping these things? And some of these things I've had for 20 years, 30 years. It's crazy. And so just getting rid of as much stuff as possible so you can regain energy actually, right?
Right.
And you could generate, some money.
Right.
My 1-2 punch is because someone said, "Hey, where do you list stuff?" I'm really just doing two things. I'm doing Facebook Marketplace, especially if it's something heavier and bulkier, and then the rest I'm doing on eBay. So I'm doing those two things. But I'm looking at like I'm observing my thoughts of if I think about a thing and like let me give an example. I mean, the storage unit was one. But just like if I walk in the garage and I notice dumbbells that I've had forever, I never use them. I'm like, I'm selling those things. I'm getting them out of
Hmm.
here. I'm just clearing them out of my space. And so that is a really powerful thing. Now, the next is for you to learn to observe your emotions
Hmm.
versus let them run you, right?
Right.
And so we are, unless you have trained yourself to be an observer, you're addicted to your emotions. And that's not a
Right.
personal attack. That's
No,
everyone.
it's spot
And,
on.
and so like, you know, my wife, she doesn't have levels of, um, financial scarcity. It's the sky is falling. And it's like, you realize we have like, a lot in investments and stuff, right? If push come to shove and all of a sudden, we could cash things in and stay and keep going for years and figure things out, right? But that doesn't register. It's the sky
Right.
is falling, sadness, emotional breakdown, bad times.
Let's see, and I
And
internalize and then explode.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you learn to observe that, so observe it and say, okay, does this make logical sense? Is this really as bad as I think it is? Right. And because what I've learned is those with money mindset scarcity, they seek an example, and then they project it out a million years, and then they feel the end result. So his commissions are down. We're going to be on the streets. And it's like, how do we get here so fast? Like, what happened here? My God.
Right.
And so understand that, okay, what if? Well, he could get another job. I could go get a job. We could, sell some things, and and so just learn to not succumb to the sky is falling deal, right? And just say,
Right.
okay, it's not, maybe it's here, right? But it's definitely not here. It's
Right.
definitely not here. And so, learn to observe that. And I remember when, and it is key for, you and your husband to communicate, because I mean, she was driving me nuts, man. Before I understood this stuff. So, we would be, in my opinion, we're doing okay. And then, she would like poke her head in and say, hey, bank account's down. And I'm like, okay. And the way I translated that was, I'm not doing my job.
Right.
I'm not a man. I'm not a good husband. And I have my wife stressed out. And so I would work like a maniac, and I'd do 10 webinars that week, and then she'd be like, why are you working so hard? What's going on over there? Why are you stressed? I'm like, yeah, I'm stressed. Yeah, thanks for this. Right. And you fucking caused it. But we weren't communicating. She wasn't telling me, how she was feeling. I was just translating. And then I wasn't telling her how she was making me feel and how I was allowed to be made felt. And so, that's also on me, because for me to just accept that feminine energy of the sky is falling, and me say, oh no, and me get all worried and me react, that's not my job. And so now when I encounter the sky is falling phenomenon, it's like, hey, no, it's not. All right, let's shape it up here. like she needs that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Needs that counterbalance. Needs that different energy, not the agreement energy. It needs polarization energy, and so just learning to observe that. And you might, although I haven't read all of his books, but if your husband is interested, the book that I read that was very, very helpful for me and helpful for our marriage is called it's an interesting title, The Way of the Superior Man.
Okay.
And it's not anti-female or anything weird, but it's an interesting title, but it is very, very good. Very good.
And that's by David?
David Dida. Yeah. I'm really excited. I'm doing a 3-day virtual workshop. We are doing a 3-day workshop with him and one of my coaches. I'm really excited about that. That's awesome. And so how does this feel so far?
This feels
advice.
really awesome. I think that I knew a lot of these things, but having confirmation and hearing somebody else saying it instead of it being my own thought or from my own reading is definitely incredibly helpful. So yeah, it's feeling good. I think I'm going to go get rid of a lot of things today. Books are my nemesis. I shouldn't say nemesis. I love books. I collect them and I've got a ton, but you're right. They're taking up space. They're taking up energy. I have a clutter issue that's definitely taking up energy, and like, I kind of just want to shove it all off and let's go.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And like I'm really hardcore. Like I'm setting up my office and like, there's nothing hanging. And I'm just like, do I want to hang this thing? Like I have all these awards and,
Here,
all
I'll
these
send you
different
this,
things.
Ray. I'll send this to you.
Let me overthink this. And so like, I'm just like, is something adding to my purpose and joy, or is it not? Because if it's not, it's taking energy. And that's what people don't understand. They don't understand that the stuff that they have is taking a little bit of their energy. And the more of those things you have, the less energy to create. And so it's like, how do I just minimalize? How do I get rid of anything that's not participating in my purpose or my joy? Let's get rid of all that stuff. And,
Yeah.
I think that'll be a powerful exercise for you.
It will be. And here I thought it was my kids all this time. I've got 5, so I'm like, Nicole.
So what do you mean by that? You thought it was your kids this whole time?
My kids are taking my energy all the time, is what I was saying.
Oh yeah, they definitely will do that. Yeah.
Monday through Friday, my husband's gone. He travels. He's a door-to-door salesman, and so like I am the show. I run them. We've got a 6-year-old, a 9-year-old, 11-year-old, 13-year-old, and a 17-year-old, and 3 of them are in hockey. One's in basketball, one's special needs, and one's just starting life. So
yeah,
it's busy.
And these are good practices to teach your kids too.
Yes.
2 things, one, how do we, like, hey, okay, let's go through our toys, right? Is this a toy that you don't play with anymore, but might bring joy to another kid?
Yeah, absolutely.
You see what I mean? Like that's teaching them. You can teach them commerce. Like, with my 2 older boys, I always bought them the nice toys because I knew I could resell them.
Mm-hmm.
And I taught them that. Like I would buy, after Halloween, we would go to Target and load up and get 90% off all these costumes. They'd play in them all year round, and then I'd sell them in September for full price. And so like I'm buying these things for $2 or $3 and I'm selling them for $30 each. Right. And so they learned that. They got to see that, and so you can teach them that of not having to have so much crap. It'll save you a lot of time in moving too, whenever they move out.
You're not wrong.
Yeah. So is this helpful?
It's incredibly helpful. Definitely. Yeah. The biggest piece is just everything has energy, and definitely something I'm going to implement immediately. So thank you for this.
And next time you feel it flare, next time you feel that, sky is falling, so just become the observer. Say, okay, I'm feeling this way. Is this reality? Is there something I can do here? Is this really as bad as I think it is? And when you start observing, you should be able to improve. Without observation, you can't improve. You're on autopilot, which is most people. Right. Most people are reacting, right? And they have no awareness of that is an addiction, that they're just repeating this record, this loop over and over and over. And
right.
So, all right, Jessica, we'll keep it. You're in, I assume you're in the 4 weeks of group coaching.
I'm a lifer. Yep.
Okay. All right. I thought so. So we'll see you in there, and appreciate you. Great job.
Thank you. I really appreciate
Jessica, everyone, give her some love.
You can find more great marketing, prospecting, and recruiting tips just like these over at rayhigdon.com. And remember to pick up your free copy of his 29 sources of network marketing leads. We'll see you over there.